Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into something pretty practical.
Yeah.
Something that hits home if you've ever poured, sweat and money into private land.
Yeah.
Security.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we're zeroing in on the challenges and maybe some clever solutions for protecting private hunting property, keeping trespassers out.
Yeah.
For anyone who dreams of, or maybe already has, that perfect piece of wilderness, the big draw is control, right?
Absolutely. Freedom.
It's the freedom to manage that land exactly how you want. You control the habitat. You control who gets access. It's more than just land. It's an investment in a lifestyle, a passion.
But that investment, it kind of puts a target on your back, which is why we're looking at this stuff today. Trespassing is the big one.
Right.
People hunting on your land without permission, scouting, even just walking through. It's illegal, obviously, but the sources point out the damage goes deeper.
How so?
It messes up your management efforts, scattering wildlife you tried to cultivate, maybe wrecking food plots, sensitive areas. It really undermines everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. They aren't just potentially stealing game. They're actively hurting the work you've put in, your stewardship.
Exactly.
So our mission here is to get past the generic advice. We want to pull out the really practical, maybe even innovative strategies from the sources, build a kind of layered defense for your property lines.
Sounds good.
And we're starting with what seems basic, but apparently it's often messed up.
Clear communication.
Signs.
Signs, yeah, they're the first line of defense. Everyone thinks no trespassing signs.
Yeah.
Standard stuff. But for someone serious about their land, that sign needs to be more than just a warning. It's actually a piece of potential legal evidence.
Okay, so what's the big mistake people make with signs, especially if they're thinking about legal protection later on?
Well, a lot of it is inconsistency.
Yeah.
Or not being specific enough. The sources really stress this. Just having a sign might not cut it, legally speaking, in some places.
Right.
You often need to meet very specific local rules, like maybe needing signs spaced every 100 feet or 200 feet along the entire boundary. The whole thing, every couple 100 feet.
Yeah, potentially. If you miss a corner or a long stretch along the back somewhere, a trespasser might try to argue they were confused, didn't see a sign.
Huh. So putting up signs goes from being like a quick Saturday job to something much more planned out.
Yeah.
Strategic, almost.
Precisely. You almost need to map it out. And while we're on legal specifics, gotta mention the purple paint law.
Purple paint, what's that?
It's pretty interesting. Varies by state, of course.
Right.
But in places that recognize it, you can mark trees or posts with a specific shade of purple paint, usually at a certain height, certain spacing.
Right.
And those marks carry the exact same legal weight as a printed no trespassing sign.
Wow. And I guess paint is harder for someone to just rip down or vandalize.
That's the idea. It's often more permanent, potentially cheaper in the long run than replacing signs constantly.
That's a great tip. Specialized knowledge there.
Yeah.
Okay, but back to the physical signs for a sec. The sources talk about placement, putting them up high, out of reach. Doesn't putting signs way up high, like 10 feet, doesn't that seem a bit aggressive? Or maybe even make people more likely to challenge it?
That's a fair point, the perception. But putting them high serves a couple of key purposes strategically. First, it makes them way harder to just pull down or mess with. That's immediate peace of mind for you, the owner.
Right.
Second, and this is more tactical, think about cameras, trail cams, security cams.
Okay.
Placing signs high gives a really clear reference point in the camera's view. If you capture footage of someone trespassing, that high visible sign is right there in the frame.
So it kills the I didn't see it excuse immediately.
Exactly.
Right.
The footage shows the person, the location, and the clear warning sign. It anchors your evidence.
I see. So the sign isn't just the warning, it's part of your evidence gathering plan. Okay, so signs need to be plentiful, placed right, maybe backed up by purple paint, but people can still ignore signs.
They can.
Which brings us to the next layer. Using the people around your property.
Yeah.
Neighbors.
Yes. Connecting this back to just smart land management, you can't rely only on tech or signs. It won't work on its own. Your neighbors, the folks on adjacent properties, they're potentially your best resource. The sources call them one of your biggest assets.
Interesting shift. Moving from physical stuff like signs to people, a social network. Why is a good relationship with a neighbor potentially better than, say, a fancy trail cam?
Well, think about it. Technology is passive, right? A camera records something after it happens, often when you're not even there.
Yeah.
A neighbor. They're active. They can provide immediate reporting, and they have local knowledge. They know the terrain, the usual activity. They know which truck belongs down that road and which one looks suspicious.
Right, a camera can't tell a contractor's truck from a poacher's if they look similar.
Yeah.
But a person might notice something off.
Exactly. That human intuition and context.
Yeah.
So building that community, it gives you two big benefits. First, just having that positive, respectful relationship. It cuts down on accidental trespassing. Neighbors know where the lines are. They respect your rules.
Simple respect goes a long way.
And the second benefit, shared surveillance. Call it a soft fence. When you build trust, you basically have more eyes watching your boundaries. If someone slips onto your property near a neighbor's driveway, that neighbor, if they like you, is probably going to give you a call. Maybe not 911 right away, but you, giving you that instant heads up.
So taking the time to, share a map, talk about your concerns with them.
Absolutely. The sources suggest that small investment in communication yields a huge return in security.
So the real takeaway here is about building those relationships. It's not optional, really. Spending time on that might be more effective than just buying more gear.
Definitely. If a neighbor sees something weird and they know you and respect you, they're far more likely to let you know than if you're strangers.
Makes sense. You're asking them to look out for your interests.
And they'll only do that if there's some mutual respect there. It really ups your chances of catching someone or even deterring them before they do real damage.
Okay, so we've got communication through signs, communication through relationships. But what if people ignore both? We need something physical, but maybe not, barbed wire everywhere. Let's talk physical barriers that actually help the land. Planting organic borders.
Yeah, this is where security meets habitat management, which is pretty cool. The idea is to boost privacy, but also add valuable cover and foliage for wildlife.
So you're turning your boundary line into something useful for the animals, too.
Exactly. A thicket that wildlife likes, but people really don't want to push through.
Now, the sources mention a trade-off here. Speed versus permanence. Not everyone wants to wait years for trees to grow in. What are the options for a quick screen, like for this hunting season?
Right. If speed's the priority, you're looking at specific annual plants that grow fast and thick. Corn gets mentioned, but deer love corn and it can get diseased.
Sure.
Better, maybe more targeted choices include things like certain types of sunhem or really densely planted sorghum varieties. Some of these can shoot up 10, even 15 feet in just a few months.
15 feet.
Yeah, creating a wall, basically. A visual screen so dense most people won't bother trying to walk through it. Gives you that seasonal privacy pretty quick.
Okay, that's a good short-term fix. But for the long haul, permanent security, really improving the land, that means trees, right?
Trees and shrubs, yeah. The permanent solution.
And this is where you really need local knowledge. You can't just pick any tree.
Absolutely not. This requires planning based on your climate, your soil. You need stuff that will thrive and create a barrier. For a lot of places, say the Midwest, the Southeast, Eastern red cedar is often a top choice.
Why cedar?
Well, it's evergreen, so year-round screen. It grows relatively fast for an evergreen. It provides great thermal cover for deer in winter. And as it matures, it gets incredibly dense, a real visual and physical barrier.
Makes sense. What if cedar isn't right for your area? Or you want something even thornier, more physically imposing?
Then you look at native thorny species, things like certain hawthorns maybe, or Osage orange if it grows well where you are. These don't just block the view, they physically discourage movement.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to push through a thicket of hawthorn.
Nobody does. If someone tries to push through a dense stand of thorny shrubs or evergreens once, they probably won't try it again. It takes time to establish, yes, it's an investment.
But the result isn't just security.
Right. The result is a barrier that actually improves the ecology of your land, provides bedding areas, thermal refuge. It's genuinely making the property better.
It really is turning that potential weak point, the border, into an asset for security and for wildlife. The border becomes an active, growing deterrent.
Creates a zone that people just don't want to enter. That's the goal.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've looked at 3 really distinct layers for securing your land.
That's right. It's all about layering. First, clear strategic signs. High up, following local rules, maybe using that purple paint trick.
Okay, layer 1, communication and legal standing.
Second, you use your neighbors. Build those relationships. That social network is huge.
Layer 2,
Yeah.
the human element, community surveillance.
And third, physical organic borders. Choosing between fast-growing annuals like sorghum for quick cover or permanent solutions like specific trees, maybe eastern red cedar or thorny shrubs, for long-term security and habitat improvement.
Right. It's these layers working together that really protect the time, the money, the effort you've poured into that land, making sure your freedom to manage it stays intact.
But it does leave us with a final thought, something for you to chew on, building off those organic barriers.
Okay.
We saw how planting trees and shrubs for security also directly benefits wildlife, right? Cover, refuge. So think about this. How does the act of controlling human access, keeping people out primarily for security reasons, how does that fundamentally change your role? Does it shift you from just being a landowner to being more of an active ecological steward? By protecting your investment, are you unintentionally creating a healthier, more diverse ecosystem on that land? It's an interesting feedback loop to consider. Security driving stewardship.